Hi, I'm Noah. My students call me Mr. Franske. I've shown this slide on the first day of school every year since I started teaching. You hear this word passion thrown around a lot these days. Teachers are charged with encouraging students to find their true meaning, follow their hearts, find their passion. Schools have passion projects, and passion even made it into Jerry Seinfeld's address to the Duke class of 2024. Spoiler alert, he doesn't think finding your passion is all it's cracked up to be. I mean, people say to find your passion, but can we really be expected to find our true life meaning at 16, 18, even 22 years old? I mean, I didn't always want to be a teacher. Teachers are overworked and underpaid. That's what I knew about teaching. But in university, I found myself leading more hours of study sessions than hours in class, and everyone said I'd be great at it, so decided to give it a try. 15 years later, here we are. Everyone said, "You're so lucky, you found your passion." But guess what? Teaching is still a job. We are still overworked, and we are still underpaid. And I've worked with more than my fair share of teachers all around the world who are certainly less passionate than they probably once were. The golden handcuffs are a very real thing. Especially in the United States, you can feel trapped in a job because it's tied to certain retirement benefits. And we don't feel like we're making a maximal impact every day as teachers. We're human. We shop at grocery stores. We go to the movies, even if our students are always amazed when they see us out in the wild. Anyway, from day one, I always saw teaching as a challenge, something that I could figure out. I'm an inherently curious person, and I always need a good challenge. I think that's why I adore puzzles so much. Just like a puzzle, education, teaching, every mathematical concept, even every student, felt like a puzzle that could be solved. It isn't always so easy, though. I almost quit teaching on my very first day. How could I, a 22-year-old who had to grow a beard so I didn't look like a student, possibly be responsible for the futures of these high schoolers? But I came into my own. I figured out a system that worked for me. I was lucky that it was really easy for me to make meaningful relationships with the students, and we had so much fun. Everything felt so fresh, so new. But, believe it or not, the 50th time you teach linear equations, it doesn't feel so fresh and new anymore. It gets a little old. And where's the passion in that? Where's the hope? In my 5th year of teaching, I brought home an impossibly large stack of pre-calculus grading. I brought it to the same room that I called the cave, where I always did my grading, sat down in the same video game rocking chair where I always did my grading, and I had just lifted my pen to make the first mark when my flip phone buzzed. It was a friend of mine with whom I taught in Florida for my first 2 years of teaching, and the text just said, "How much money is a trillion pennies?" I fired back, "It's $10 billion. Just move the decimal 2 places to the left." Stack of grading back on the lap, pen poised yet again. But I just had to know. So I texted him back. I said, "What, did you find a trillion pennies or something? What's the deal?" And he said, no. He had been driving down the highway with his girlfriend, and they saw a semi that was wrapped in an advertisement that was covered in images of American pennies. And of course, this prompted the question, how many pennies could you fit in a semi? And my friend Trevor said, "I don't know, probably like a trillion." My mind is flooded with questions. I said, "Do you have any concept of what a trillion things would possibly look like?" My grading thrown aside, I embarked into a deep dive into the volume of a semi, the volume of a penny, stacking efficiency of cylinders, minting statistics for the United States. I realized this could run my algebra class for a full unit. Here's what they found. Turns out it would take 3,120 semis to hold the solid volume of metal alloy required to make a trillion pennies. Not only that, you would need double that many because of the inefficiency of stacking small cylinders with a tiny aspect ratio like a penny. Turns out a trillion pennies would cover a football field end to end, 65 meters high. And what's more, since the inception of the modern-day penny in 1887, which, by the way, did not yet have Abraham Lincoln on it, but I was willing to give Trevor the benefit of the doubt, only 538 billion pennies have ever been minted. So no, Trevor, you cannot fit a trillion pennies into a semi. Now, why did I go into this deep dive, and why did I bring my students with me down the rabbit hole? Because for me, mathematics is not a means to an end that universities and companies seem to value. No, for me, math is a way of life. It permeates our very being. It helps us understand our purpose, lays out a logic to who we are, where we came from, and what our future might look like. It helps us maximize our quality of life. And in case you missed it, that was passion. It's not a stack of grading, I can promise you that. Sometimes the universe lays out these opportunities for us like a text about a million pennies that are meant to inspire us. But I think more often than not, we wave at those opportunities as they pass us by. Our school just implemented a strict no cell phones policy. I'm pretty excited about it, to be honest. It reminds me a lot of my high school days, where if we were bored, we would play cards during break, or we would go biking or skateboarding, or I don't know, have a conversation with each other. We didn't have this low-level dopamine drip as an option that students have today. And when I think back to how we had to find creative ways to fill those hours, it helped to develop a lot of the hobbies and interests that have led me to be who I am today. Unfortunately, I can't always count on my friends to be sending me a trillion pennies texts every time teaching starts to feel like a job. There are good days and there are bad days, but I've been fortunate, especially in recent years, to find more mathematical creative outlets to help inspire me to bring things into the classroom. I'm working on open problems with colleagues around the world. I'm encouraging students to participate in mathematics competitions with the greatest minds of their generation. I'm running a problem of the week here at ISP that gets varying levels of participation. I'm doing uncomfortable things like TEDx talks. But we have to keep the fire burning. And when it starts to fade, we need to stoke it. Sometimes that means doing crazy things like derailing the train and throwing out a math unit and changing it to be about putting a trillion pennies into a semi. But we need to figure out what it is that keeps us coming back into the classroom day after day. We owe it to our students. And we might get jaded along the way, and that's okay. We're human. But we crave creativity, we crave adventure, and we crave inspiration. We just have to recognize it when it comes along. I got married this summer. Pause for applause. Thank you. We had our honeymoon in Greece, and we had the most amazing tour guide named Alex. We've been on a lot of tours, and you can tell probably within the first 30 seconds if you have a passionate tour guide or not. And I can tell you right now, Alex knew absolutely everything about the Parthenon. And what made me so drawn to him was how excited he was to share it with us. He had incredible passion for his city and its history. Alex brought us through the Parthenon Museum. And I have to be honest, I find museums a little bit intimidating. There's a lot of information, and I find it very overwhelming. I was amazed at what it was like to have a guide in a museum that could show us what was most exciting to him, what made him the most interested. That's exactly what I wanted. And I realized that's what I want to be for my students. I want to show them why math is so exciting to me. I want to display that passion, show them why it's so incredible and what it's done for me in my life. I think often our students are lost in the museum. There's a lot to learn. And we just need to be there to show them the highlights. I can't pretend to know what fuels the passion of someone who runs a business or sits in a cubicle or designs buildings for a living. But I like to think that I know at least a little bit about teaching. And after 6 schools in 4 countries, I think more often than not, we're letting our students down. And all we have to do is show them our passion for learning, for educating. And they'll follow us. They always will. I've found a way to fuel my passion, and I try to show it every day. How can you fuel yours?